I am Heather, and this is David.
And I'm David.
Yeah.
From
ZenRoseGarden.com. Come on inside Zen Rose Garden this afternoon.
Inside our heads.
Let's connect and unplug a little. Talking about some healing miracles today.
Talking about them miracles. Hag up.
If you are one of our Zen Heads in Zen Ed Academy, let us know you're here with hashtag Zen Head for life.
And if you're watching live, give us a hashtag live tribe.
And if you're watching on the replay, give us a hashtag replay fam. It's that easy. I kind of want to know, you guys, your healing miracles that you've experienced.
Yeah. So we're going to talk today about how healing mediumship shows up in the world. And we want to know if you have ever been part of a healing miracle or something that happened to you or have witnessed one.
So something like the healing shouldn't have happened as fast as it did.
Mm-hmm. Or there was something miraculous about what happened.
So let's talk a little bit about healing mediumship, because it's always turned me on.
I didn't know it was that easy.
Oh God, until my voice fully comes back online till I can check you. Because he's like taking advantage of me having a hoarse voice, getting over being sick. But it's like, I can't check him as fast. I'm not fully online. Just give me a couple days. So as a kid, I was really familiar with hands-on healing. It was, I grew up in a religion where it was a thing. So it was never a foreign concept for me. It was just always a given that healing, hands-on healing, laying on hands and calling the spirit in to heal was a thing. Right. But it didn't seem fair, because in the church that I grew up in, only men could do it.
That's kind of messed up. And
I was always like, oh, no, if that's, and then I asked about it, because I'm that kid that's like, but why?
She'll still do that sometimes.
Absolutely. It's gotten me this far. So, and I kind of got the excuse that, well, women naturally have the ability. They don't need to officially have the ability. And so you don't really need to, because mother's touch and all that. I still wasn't totally buying it. So I kind of kept it to myself. And that it's true, mother's touch, healing touch. So I kind of didn't totally ever buy into it.
Right.
And it really bothered me growing up, because I knew it was in me. I could see it happening outside of me. My dad did it. He was a very powerful hands-on healer. And I just knew that it was in me too. And I was really drawn to it. So I remember one time there was a little bird that fell out of a tree, and I must have been like 6 years old. And I was like, I can help this bird. I can do this. I was a little teeny girl, and I picked up that bird and I held him and just kind of like set my intention. I was playing as a kid. Yeah. And in about 10 minutes, he like started to like come back to life almost, and like took off and flew. And I was like, see, I knew it. So, it was just like the innocence of a child. But I think it's in all of us. I think all of us have that ability. It's there in us. And it's just, we got to plug in to that thing and make it happen. You know what I mean?
So Lord says, my husband has weird healing speed. Also, his hands heat up, and he will help me and the kids heal faster. He lays hands on what is hurting, and then he gets crazy heat to his hands. He doesn't see it though. It's just nurture to him. I know it's a superpower. Absolutely. That to me is like one of the greatest experiences, is having somebody who has that kind of ability, even if they don't know what to call it or just call it something else. It really is a superpower. So that is an example of healing mediumship, of something that happens bigger than a person's individual ability, where you've got the connection of spirit working with a person to create miracles, right?
And I think we all instinctively know how to heal, and we can go through different training and different modalities and do all of the like time-honored methods that have been developed depending on what appeals to us. But I think just we have that instinct that when somebody's hurting, to touch them and make them feel better, and it just flows through us. And I think the more natural and playful, and I just always remember that moment with the bird when I was little, and that's sort of how I see it. I remember in middle school, in my day, we called it junior high school. So I'm like, what's this middle school shit? Junior high school, we read Tess of the Dubervilles. She's a sassy bitch, right? So she was had a baby out of wedlock, and the baby died. And the priest would not bury the baby in the cemetery unless the baby was baptized, but wouldn't baptize the child because it was born a bastard child. So Tess was like, my kid's not going to get into heaven. fuck you, I'm going to baptize him myself. So she did. She went, she did the whole ordinance herself. And I'm like, see, she's a woman, right? And so I'm like 12 years old or something reading this story going, see, I was right. And so she had the faith that she could do this for her child. And so of course she went to the priest, and the priest was like, you're it's still bullshit. And I'm like, I'm with you, Tess. I get you. I see you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So another example, another story for me personally is I had just gotten Reiki attuned like maybe a month prior, and I was up in Mount Charleston, and I was drinking a soda. I don't really drink soda much anymore, but I did back then. And I was drinking a soda, and we were out semi-woodsy area, and there was bees around. So I didn't think anything of it. I'm drinking the soda, and I set it down. It was still open. And then I went to have another drink and swallowed a bee, and it stung me inside of my throat. My throat was closing up, and I was like, oh shit, what's going on here? So I laid down and I put my hands on my throat, and there was a moment when I just saw this like black dot removed inside of my mind's eye. I saw this black dot removed from the middle of my throat, and I could literally feel this, like, you know, when you pull a bee sting out, you feel that pull against your skin. I felt that on the inside of my throat, and I couldn't reach it. So I'm just holding my throat. So to me, that was an experience of something bigger than myself coming in to give me something that was not otherwise capable of taking place, and made it happen.
Well, you know, I mean, I think about the healing that I've experienced personally, you know, and I remember my dad, I was telling you, was a very powerful hands-on healer. I got toxic poisoning, gas poisoning, because I was a kid. I was trying to clean the shower. And so I got all these different products, not realizing that ammonia and bleach.
You just put them together, and I
was like, well, it could be. So, you know, I'm a kid. I'm like, again, doing stupid, and I'm cleaning, thinking I'm doing a nice thing. I'm like, let's get lime away and bleach, and didn't realize I was creating a toxic cloud, and I was burning my lungs, and I was starting to like, and so I went to get my dad, and he immediately saw what I did. And I was like, not take me to the hospital, which he was like grabbing the keys. I'm like, no, just put your hands on me. Just like, I need a healing. So he did. And it was like, there was a moment where it was like, the entire cloud was removed from my lungs in an instant. And I could breathe like that. And I think when we have these kinds of healing miracles, that it's a 3-part thing, right? You've got the person who's willing to accept the healing. Like I had so much faith in my dad's power that I was, I opened myself to it. And then you've got the person doing the healing that's just surrendering to,
willing to be the channel,
the energy. And then you've got whatever that mystery is out there that's going to be that triangle in that trifecta, and just it happens. And for those that have experienced something like that, there's no denying it.
Yeah, it is a miracle. There's no other possible way to explain it aside from something miraculous.
So what does healing mediumship look like for you? Because that's what we want to know today is, what are some of the experiences you've had that are like that? Like when I had the gas poisoning or the bee sting, or, you know, what are some things that you have had done to you that have happened to you? What does healing mediumship look like to you in everyday life, outside of, are you a healing arts professional and you do this for a living every day and you're helping people? In your regular normal life, what have you experienced? Because those two that I've just told you about in my life, they were just my regular course of life, right? I was way before I even decided to, you know, step into this as a profession. And I think it shows up in so many beautiful ways that we can't even begin to describe all of the phases of it.
And I also think that there are some people that catalyze healing because they are just always connected. I mean, Lourdes was talking about her husband who's got this weird healing where his hands just heat up. That would be an example of somebody who's pretty much already connected, and they just, there's no real on-off switch like in message mediumship where you connect and then you disconnect, right? And I think with healing mediumships, a lot of them, the tap is just turned on and it flows whenever they need it. It's right there. It's a different kind of a connection. And I know for me personally, I've done the same thing with a lot of different people before I even had any kind of attunement or opening or ritualized expansion. There were many times when I would just put my hands on somebody's head who was having a headache and it would be gone. I mean, these were like serious migraines where people would just be like, just touch me. My mom especially suffered from migraines for her whole life. And that was kind of, I think, one of the ways that I learned that.
Yeah, when I was first learning Reiki, when I first decided to step into, okay, let me put my money where my mouth is and see what I got, right? So I remember looking at all the Reiki videos on Netflix, like, and YouTube. And there was one that I saw with a gentleman that was teaching how to do Reiki, how to do hands-on healing work officially, you know, and because my dad did it one way, he would just put the hands on your head. So my dad, it was like a hands on the head kind of thing. But I remember him going, at the beginning of your Reiki session, you should do this thing. You should go Reiki on. And he made this big movement with his arm. He's like, this is how you start a session. I went, okay. And at the end of the session, go Reiki off and do this big thing with your arm. And I went, that seems like I don't want to do that. It felt really weird to me because I was like, I feel like that healing energy, if you're a healer,
it's just on tap.
It's just on tap and it's flowing once you open it up. And I understand the concept of connecting and disconnecting when you're doing a session, because what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. So I think that's what the concept was. So not to bag on him, but to me, it was more translating into the healing energy just flows. I think from every pore.
And Ginger says, when I just started working with Reiki and started working on myself and my kidneys, have always had stones through my adult life from birth defects. And in 24 hours, all of the stones emptied from my kidneys.
Yes.
Absolutely. Doctor said there was no cure for the kidney disease I was diagnosed with. I say wrong.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I believe you absolutely, because we've had experiences ourselves where there was just no other way to explain certain things happening. Like with Heather's spasmodic dysphonia, there were so many elements that it should not have been healed.
It's funny that we're going to talk about my voice thing because I have like raspy trying to recover from the flu. But Nancy says, when my dog had a seizure, I put my hands on his head and said, heal this sweet soul. He stopped sneezing. We've had really great experience like that with our pets too, that were sick. But I mean, it's pretty incredible when you do stuff with animals because they're so much more receptive than people, right? They're just like, I got this. They know what it is. They just
and Victoria says no off switch. No, I don't see a reason for an off switch when it comes to healing mediumship like that.
Yeah, I think it's necessary, like in an official session, I think, to ground, connect, disconnect, do all that. But I think I don't think it's like turn the Reiki off, turn the Reiki on. I think it's just I think once you get in that flow, it's just a flow, and why not? You know, it's beautiful.
Right. And there are so many different examples of how the tap is just on and kind of flows out, right?
Well, I think it has more to do, if there's an issue for you, that has more to do with your own boundaries that have emotional attachments less than, I think that's less of a problem of the Reiki's flowing all the time and more of an issue of your personal energetic boundaries. I think those are two different things. Okay, so here's one example of how the tap is just on and flows out. Because after I saw that video with the Reiki on, Reiki off thing, I was in the middle of in the deep healing of my voice. You know, I had been diagnosed with spasmodic dysphonia, which is a non-curable vocal disorder, but I was not having it. Right. And it brought on by the trauma of all the stuff I went through. And so I was in the middle of peeling those layers off and really seeking to unravel the healing for myself. And so I went to an EFT workshop one afternoon, and a local healing medium named Regina Murphy lives here in Las Vegas, and she was running the workshop. And I said, I really want to work with this woman on unraveling whatever this is. And so I went to talk to her, and I stood in front of her, and I was expecting to tell her about my issue. And suddenly my voice was clear and pure. It wasn't spasming. I was standing about this far away from her. Being in her presence, the symptoms went away just like that. Now, when I left her presence, they came back, but just being in that energy, it was boom. So I set up a session to work for her. And what happened was the next week, David and I met with her. For her. Yeah, I set up a session to work with her. Never actually got there because David and I met and kind of
ended up canceling the session because we ended up doing other things.
And so
we're not going to tell publicly.
So like healing my voice. So, I went through the next 6 months and did heal it.
Right.
And it was an overnight thing. It was like peeling off the
It
layers.
was overnight.
Well, no, it was 2 years of peeling off the layers
Right.
and doing healing work. And that one final night, Dave and I had gotten to the root issue,
right,
which was so silly when I finally got down to that root issue. And I woke up in the morning with a totally clear voice.
And she spoke for an hour before I said, you realize you're talking normal, right?
And that was 12 years ago. So it was a healing miracle that happened overnight that took 2 years of peeling off the layers and doing my work.
But there were miracles along the
Yes.
way. It wasn't just like this one big miracle. It was all of these little pieces and parts along the way that brought this this final culmination of it.
Well, I think so for some things, because healing takes a lot of patience, right? For some things like the bird, or when I got the gas poisoning, or David's bee stings, you can have healings that are instantaneous. It needs to happen in this moment.
Right.
And then there are some that are part of your life path.
Yes.
Where it's a shamanistic journey.
Yes, it's an ongoing journey.
You've got to go through the patience and the unwinding of the layers and
building that faith and that trust in yourself.
I think the reason some of the healings need to take longer for me, 2 years, because I needed 2 whole years to unravel my layers. And if that had happened overnight, I wouldn't have gone through
all the other nuggets
came along with it. The detective work, the understanding of my own part in it, my personal responsibility of where I gave my power away to others through my life. So there's so many, when I think with so many clients we've had over the last 12 years, 11 years, seeing people that are dealing with long-term issues. And there's so much more to learn than just, I want to heal this thing.
Right.
You're healing so many things on your soul path along the way.
Yeah.
And so with those kinds of things that take longer, you really got to continue to come back to that hope, that optimism, that faith, that knowing that you are learning lessons for your bigger soul picture along the way, right?
Yeah, go along with the journey and just kind of pick up the pieces as you go, and have faith that you will get to that point regardless of what anybody else may say to you or think of you, okay? Right. So it is your journey, and just have that knowing inside that you will get there when you get there, and all of these pieces along the way are informing that process. And Denise says, I was told by a medium that I had so much energy that I would overwhelm a client using Reiki, and to start with mediumship and channeling first. What do you think?
Denise, here's what I think. I think that you overwhelmed that medium with your energy. There was something about you that intimidated her.
Yeah.
So I would say Reiki is a beautiful thing. And I've felt people that were very powerful. And I think Reiki, when you have that Reiki energy, it adjusts itself.
It will acclimate to the person.
Right. So you can be one type of Reiki healer, and one client will feel it in a very gentle way. Another person will feel it in a very overwhelming way. So it could be that medium needed something from you that she didn't realize.
And maybe got overwhelmed just by being in your presence.
So it could be that something was coming up from the depths of her that was overwhelming to her.
Right.
So I would say that Reiki is a beautiful way to open up your mediumship and your channeling.
Yes.
Because Reiki is a very gentle, beautiful energy work that is just based in love and compassion. So you do what you are guided to do, not what anybody else tells you, even what I just told you.
Yeah. Do you, boo, follow your truth.
That's what I think. And just because a person is a medium doesn't mean they're necessarily telling you your truth.
Right. So here's a concept when it comes to, and I'm grateful that you brought this up, Denise. Here's a concept of the ability to be overwhelmed, or the ability to have too much energy. So when you've got a client that comes to you, or somebody that comes to you for something, you may have your 100% capacity of what you are capable of doing. This person may only tap into 10% of that, 5% of that, 1% of that, but that's their 100% of what they're ready for. You will never overwhelm somebody, because they will only pull from you what they are ready for.
Well, Reiki, you're attached to the ocean of energy that is everything, right? And one person's coming to you, and they might have just a little tiny cup to fill up. And then another person might come to you in the ocean, and they've got a big old 5-gallon barrel. So trust the energy.
Yes.
that it's going to go where it needs to go, how much it needs to go,
Right.
and what it needs to do. That's what I have to say about that.
Absolutely.
The key
Yeah.
is if you are drawn to healing mediumship,
Mhm.
like I was as a kid,
Right.
then the advice is to first learn a modality that resonates with you
Like, for example, Reiki.
and work on the practical skills and trust spirit. Trust the spirit will send the right helpers to you
At the right time,
at the right time.
for the right people that you're going to connect with. So over the course of your life, you may sense different energies coming and going. Change it up for different people. And there may even come a time when it becomes so integrated that it seems as one seamless flow.
At different points in your healing journey as a
Mhm.
healer, you may feel your healing team come in, but you may go along and integrate different skills and techniques, and you may feel a different
Mhm.
healing people come in. You may have
A different
client,
team.
different team. You may, in spirit, I'm talking
Right.
about, and then you may be working on a certain person, and somebody that wants to help you with that particular person might come in and
Mhm.
help. So
Or they might even bring their entire spirit healing team with you.
it gets to be pretty crowded in that healing room sometimes. So,
it can be awesome.
but a lot of fun. So you have backup no
Mhm.
matter what. So I think as a healing medium, step into it, trust the energy.
Yeah. And you get to that point where your ego no longer needs to have that external reassurance, and you just kind of integrate with your team, and it becomes this seamless flow. So you don't really have a distinction. In the beginning, you're more aware of who all is in the room in spirit and who all is helping you out. As you get better at it and as you integrate more, you have less of that human ego need to feel validated or feel reassured or know who all is there, and you just kind of go with the flow more.
So I want to tell you about experience I had with my mom right the night that she passed in 2012. She passed in 2012, right? Magical year.
Wasn't the world supposed to end?
No, it was not supposed to end. That's another video about
or was that 1999?
The world's always supposed to end. It's just a cycle. People go through it and they
Yeah.
get this apocalypse
Anyway.
idea. So I told you, don't get me started. So the night my mom passed away, so I was woken up in the middle of the night, like 3 a.m. So whether or not it seemed real, I felt like I was awake, right? I saw my Aunt Ruth, who passed away a few years prior, who loved my mom. And she said, would you like to come and witness your mom's healing? Is this a dream? Was it not a dream? I feel like I was awake.
Mhm.
And so I remember saying, yes, I'm going with you.
Mhm.
And taking her hand and seeing my mom in this cocoon, and it was this beautiful light sage green color. And she was wrapped in this cocoon. And I was felt like I was allowed to see that healing and to maybe participate in it. I don't know, because at that point, my memory was
just done.
Yeah. And I woke up in the morning and remembered the experience. So,
and actually felt really, really peaceful and calm after that.
Yeah, I felt peaceful, felt like, something beautiful had just happened that I got to be a part of. So,
right. So was it real? Was it grief?
Right.
Was it maybe the mind wanting closure? Here's the real thing. Does it matter?
Right. So for me, I think a lot of times we have these healing experiences that are so otherworldly that we're not even sure they happened. Right. For me, I'm sticking to the story that happened.
Right.
I could have been in a deep
grief state, or
when a parent passes, you're in a real surreal state for a minute. And that was like 12 hours after she passed.
But the point here is, does it matter? Did it bring some kind of good feeling? Did it bring some kind of a personal healing? Did it bring healing for the client?
So
what really matters.
Was that, I'll put the question out to you, was that a healing for me? Or was that a healing for my mom? Did I need to feel like I was part of her healing for my own healing? Or was that just something that my mind was creating? And does it matter?
Right.
These are things we ask ourselves to keep an open mind, And
Okay.
so I think it's kind of fun to question those things.
Right. Denise says, so glad I asked. That's what I thought. Thank you so much. What a beautiful story, Heather. Thank you, Denise.
I'm anxious to see over the weeks to come the stories that you guys leave in the comments about your own healing miracles that you've experienced, because I think it's beautiful to share them, because it keeps us all, you know, in the miracle
humble and in the awe.
In the miracle of living, right? Yeah. So that's what I got for you today. We'll always be back to chop it up with our hashtag YouTube fam.
Faster than 2 shakes of a unicorn's tail after he's pooped rainbow frosting on the carpet.
Girl, unicorns don't poop on carpets.
Exactly. Check out the link below for Zen Ed Academy. If you like this video, hit that like button right down there.
And if you do have any insider stuff that you want to know or you want to share, let us know in the comments below. We do love to hear your stories, and we like to tell you all our personal stories.
And for more live hangouts, behind the scenes secrets, and mind hacking pro tips,
be sure to subscribe
and click the bell to turn notifications on,
so you're the first to know
when we drop a new video
or go live.
And we know that time is a valuable and precious resource, and the fact that you guys have chosen to spend that with us, we absolutely honor and appreciate that. Most importantly, that you're here to level up your skills and take your life and your business to a completely new level. We honor and appreciate that even more. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
See you in the next video.